Having a movie made about your life might seem like a modern dream, but for those who've watched their stories play on the big screen, it can sometimes be a nightmare. For these real-life people who were depicted in movies, the experience of becoming film famous was not all it was cracked up to be. Here's why. Moneyball. If you're unfamiliar with the story of Moneyball, it's a retelling of how Oakland Athletics general manager Billy Beane reshaped the way professional baseball scouts and front offices put together a competitive roster. The movie was critically acclaimed, but Oakland's real-life manager Art Howe was not pleased with what he saw. Howe was portrayed in the movie by Philip Seymour Hoffman, and while Hoffman may have been an Oscar-winning prestige actor, Howe thought he was too hefty to play him. But that was the smallest of his concerns with the depiction. Howe also took issue with the fact that he was represented as little more than an old-school baseball dinosaur who was being lapped by brilliant minds like Beane. He even called the movie character assassination, saying, "People who don't know me are going to think that's how I was. You work to build a reputation, and then in 2 hours this movie breaks it down." He was also less than impressed with the movie's attention to players' on-base percentages, because in his words, that was a duh moment.
No, seriously, that is.
The Blind Side. For Baltimore Ravens offensive lineman Michael Orr, all the buzz that followed his portrayal in The Blind Side was a bit infuriating. While it was true that the Tuohys took him in and have since become his family, the movie made it seem as though he was a gentle giant with protective instincts whom Sandra Bullock guided into getting good at football. But in real life, he'd been playing football for years before he was brought into the Tuohy crew. As he told NPR, "I could not figure out why the director chose to show me as someone who had to be taught the game of football. Whether it was SJ moving around ketchup bottles or Leanne explaining to me what blocking is about, I watched those scenes thinking, no, that's not me at all. I've been studying, really studying, the game since I was a kid." That was my main hang-up with the film.
Well, all right then.
All Eyez on Me. This biopic of Tupac Shakur was a critical miss for several reasons, not the least of which was how the movie recreated Jada Pinkett Smith's involvement in his life story. The actress skewered the film on Twitter and accused the filmmakers of fabricating a scene wherein Shakur read her a poem and claimed they completely invented a farewell between the two. She also denied the occurrence of an argument portrayed in the film, calling the movie's version of events deeply hurtful. Sully. It's a scientific fact that everybody loves Tom Hanks, and the man he portrays in 2016's Sully is a bona fide hero. Captain Chesley Sullenberger III was the pilot who pulled off the Miracle on the Hudson, so named because it was one of the most insane emergency landings ever attempted and saved every person on board the plane. But if the film's plot had been true to the actual events, it would have been over in half an hour, because all that time spent investigating whether or not he'd done the right thing was greatly exaggerated. There was never any significant doubt as to whether Sully made the right call. The first set of simulations, shown in the film to constitute damning evidence that the emergency landing was unnecessary, showed just the opposite, and the final report praised both Sully and the crew for their heroism. The real investigators were none too happy about this, accusing director Clint Eastwood of making manufactured villains out of them for the sake of dramatic tension. Now retired lead investigator Robert Benson complained that the film had hurt his reputation while putting its level of realism somewhere between Sharknado 2 and Sharknado 3. Spotlight. In an age where news outlets consistently get accused of alleged bias and fakery, Spotlight provides a noble portrait of journalistic courage and integrity. The Oscar-winning movie revisited how the Boston Globe exposed heinous sexual abuse and a dastardly cover-up by the Catholic Church. So a picture this serious might seem to demand a standard of truth-seeking worthy of the journalists it represents. However, one of the real-life people depicted in the movie was more than mildly offended as to how he came off in the pic. School Representative Jack Dunn was painted as a morally ambiguous figure who tried to excuse away abuses.
It's a big school, Robbie. You know that. And we're talking about 7 alleged victims over, 8 years?
The real Dunn subsequently sued the studio for defamation, and ultimately, the filmmakers apologized to him and settled for an undisclosed sum.